someone asks you
What?
what you do for a living, what do you tell them?
I mash clay.
You mash clay.
I mash clay.
And how would you characterize what sort of art you do?
What sort of, I am a figurative sculptor and used to be painter, used to paint. And I work in a realistic manner. I've never been an abstract artist or anything I don't do anything to exaggerate the figure, or I'm just a straight figurative sculptor working like I want to. And Glenna is, for the record, a nickname. My real name is Glendale. I always said Mother had bad labor pains. She took Daddy's middle name and her sister's middle name and came up with Glendale. But they nicknamed me Glenna, and I've always gone by Glenna. I took my junior year, I took a semester of sculpture. And the professor, I don't know what has happened to him, but I tore up my knee skiing and spent 3 weeks in the hospital. And I missed that class, and we had a personality conflict anyway. He being from Brooklyn, me with my West Texas accent. And he said that he gave me a D in sculpture. And I went to protest my grade, and he said that I was stupid, dumb, and ignorant, and I could never see three-dimensional. I should never sculpt. And I took him verbatim. So from that moment on, until 10 years later, I didn't think of sculpture, because back then you believed what your teachers said, your professors. That was the truth. One quick aside, in 1994, I delivered the commencement address and received an honorary doctorate from Colorado College. And they wanted the title for my address early, and I thought and figured out that the best thing to say was, "Success is the greatest revenge." And because I was speaking to a liberal arts school, to chemists and physicists, I had no idea what a little old artist from Lubbock was going to say to all these people from the East. And it was successful in that I was using myself as an example that you don't have to absolutely live on a professor's word for the rest of your life, but take that and use it as an example. And I've even been pleased to have people mention it to me. They remembered my talk. I don't even remember who spoke at my graduation, but anyway, that was a great honor. And the second, and I also received a doctorate from Texas Tech and gave the same speech to 4,000 graduates at Texas Tech. So that was, now for me, with having said what all I did about being a woman, that those things came first. And I've always been a fan of Bettina Steinke's, because she was the only true professional woman artist that I knew. She didn't marry till her 30s. I married when I was 22. I, was programmed. I grew up in Lubbock. I was determined to get my college degree, then get married and have babies. And, I didn't join the junior league or the garden club. I was doing my art things then. But she was just like the men. She started out as a professional artist, and that's what I always wanted to be. But it wasn't until my kids were gone and that I suppose when the accolades came in, and I felt like I had arrived. Well, anyway, Forrest, I was introduced to, had this foundry, and he said he gave me a ball of wax, not clay, and said that I should try sculpting. I said, oh no, you know, I'm a painter. I can't possibly see three-dimensional. He said, well, just try it. So I was so intimidated, I kept that ball of wax for 6 months, and then I got out, I started sculpting. I'll show you the little 6-inch figure of my daughter who was in her leotards taking ballet. And I used a bobby pin and a paring knife and a toothpick and modeled this little piece and took it out to Forrest to cast. Well, he just said, it's fine, it's the best, the most wonderful, belongs in the Louvre, and oh, blah, blah, blah. So he built me up to the ceiling, when in truth, it's not a bad piece, but he wanted to have something to sell in his little gallery. And they did sell out immediately at $198 a piece. All my mother's friends bought them, and I sold 15 of them immediately. So that was a lot of money to me. I think I split it with Forrest. You know he had to get a commission. This was a competition that the United States Mint sponsored, and I was invited to submit designs, and I could submit 7, 8 hours, I guess as many as I wanted to. And I did them several different ways for the competition. I did Sacagawea pointing the way, and Sacagawea as looking off in the distance, and then the eagle on the back showing the Missouri River. I wasn't pleased with any of these, so I switched to clay and got permission to do the relief in the form of and when it was photographed, you could see that it looked more like the relief of a coin. They had their own competition then of the pieces that they selected, and I fortunately won the competition on the website. This is the one right here, but without this infused lettering. They said that wouldn't stamp out well on their machines. This is a picture of the finished golden coin. It doesn't have any gold in it, but this was the golden coin, and this is one of the coins. But what a funny experience to do that for the town of O'Donnell. I don't know if we have time. This was July. It was dedicated on July 4th in 74. And we went down to O'Donnell, is a tiny little dried up cotton town between Lamesa and Lubbock. And those people are still so proud of that bust, but when I was working on it at my little studio in Lubbock, the committee would come by to approve it. And the funniest thing that happened through the whole thing, I didn't know how they wanted it situated, what they wanted him looking toward or something. I asked the mayor and said, well now, which way do you want his eyes to look? To the east? Oh, I know, toward Mecca? And he said, Mecca who? No, she used to live in the east part of town, but she moved. Honest story. I laughed. There was a reporter there writing all this down. It was so funny, and they didn't get it. They didn't, so I stopped trying to be funny. Mecca who? So, and when we went for the dedication, they had the Bonanza background music, and the speeches were made on a flatbed truck with funeral grass over it. And I don't mean to make fun, but I have such wonderful memories of this. And the mayor, again, with his stack of index cards, wanted to welcome us all here to O'Donnell on this day of July the 4th. I guess you had to be there, but it was a fun thing. I've had so...
Did you ever meet Mecca?
No, she moved.